Hi everyone, VortexTCG here. A couple days ago I was working on a script for the upcoming ban list, but with how Bandai hasn't really announced anything yet and we don't really have a good timeline for this other than it being late August and early September, I put it on the back burner and worked on another video. However, with Bandai just announcing that they're going to release a brand new ban list on August 23rd and get into effect on September 1st, I feel like I had to go back and look at my list and talk about the upcoming ban list, what I think is going to be hit on the ban list, and overall my thoughts on the current state of the ban list. Before we do that though, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated, and please also use my Big Orbit affiliate link down below to save yourself 5% off on your next order. I make some money, you make some money in savings. And so before we get into the ban list predictions, I want to talk about my thesis of the ban list so far. The current Digimon landscape is that if your deck is very fast and you're able to get through all your pieces very quickly and efficiently, your deck is going to be a top tier meta contending deck. This is why you see decks like Sakuyamon and Gallantmon come such powerful decks in our metagame, because they've had so much legacy support and just support over the years that these decks are super consistent to the point where you can't really compete against them unless you get even more consistency from a brand new deck. And unfortunately, when it comes to this consistency, it also means that you're able to find the limited cards a lot quicker than you normally would. And in almost a way, kind of making the limited list feel just a bit meh overall, because let's face it, I mean, if you're able to find and search all these limited cards easily within your deck, then is the ban list doing its job? I would say no. And what I'm going to do today when I talk about my hits, I primarily want them to be banned outright and not limited to one because of that reason. The game is fast. You're able to find these pieces a lot more quicker, and with that, I think these should be banned and not limited. So before we talk about the hits, let's also identify the top decks in the given format. I think it's clear to see that for the longest period of time now, we've seen stuff like Gallantmon, Sakuyamon, Royal Knights. These three decks tend to be the top of most people's lists, and because of that I will be looking at those decks specifically to get hit. I feel like these decks are essentially gatekeeping the format, and with decks that are coming out in BT22, EX9, even BT21 to a certain extent, we're just not seeing them get played because they're just not as efficient as these decks in the given format. So that's where I'm going to be starting off my hits on my predictions, and I'm going to start off with the EX8 Growlmon X Antibody. I think this is the most obvious card that is going to get hit on the ban list, and there's a good reason for it. Growlmon X is just a very consistent card, and for that reason it really helps boost those Gallantmon and Growlmon strategies. A draw one and a trash one is nothing to scoff at, and it also gains pseudo protection that allows you to play out a Guilmon for free if it ever gets deleted. It's also important to note that this is a X Antibody card, which means you get to Digivolve this for free if you have a Growlmon already. So not only are you getting huge advantage for getting into this for free, but you're also able to then gain additional effects and so forth and so on. In the past two formats, we've seen Growlmon X Antibody become, well, one of the most dominant cards in our format. And the free play Guilmon is just the cherry on top that allows you to continue to loop and go for game on the same turn. Especially when you have like the on deletion inheritables to gain you memory back, and yeah, it's disgusting. Hitting the Growlmon X will slow down the Guilmon rush strategies or the Growlmon rush strategies by hitting their consistency and also not allowing them to provide another body on the field for them to rush and swing. So for that reason, I think Growlmon X should be banned. So we've talked about one of the top decks, let's talk about another, and that is Sakuyamon. The card I predict to be hit in Sakuyamon is the BT17 Taomon. This card is just super flexible within Sakuyamon strategies, being able to play a plug-in but also a yellow option card for free. On top of that, it has the same inheritable effect as well, which means you can get even more value while this card is in your inheritables. Now, I think most of us would probably say that this card would be fine if it could only play plug-in cards, but as you can also play just any yellow option card available to you, you have a lot of flexibility. And because of that, you're able to use cards like the training cards or the scramble card to go into your Sakuyamons, or worse, the Ruin modes and Valderarms as your top end, and for relatively cheap cost as well. I mean, if you are able to go into a Valderarm and you use the scramble and you have 2 level 6s underneath, you're going neutral. Now I think hitting the BT17 Taomon is probably going to be the most likely hit, and if people still want to continue playing the new Sakuyamon stuff, they'd probably have to look at the BT10 Taomon as their replacement because, well, this card is just more fair in general. You are forced to only play plug-in cards and you don't have an inheritable that does the same effect. This way you slow down the Sakuyamon deck, slow down their control aspects while also still making the deck somewhat playable. It's also important to note that this is getting an advanced deck later on in the year in December, so I think it's a good time now to hit this card, and then when December comes around they can play with a brand new Taomon which is hopefully more fair and balanced. So with that, I think Taomon BT17 should be banned. So we've talked about 2 of the decks, let's talk about the final one, which I think is the 3rd best deck in the format, and that is Royal Knights. Royal Knights is a weird deck to hit because Royal Knights has an identity, and it just essentially allows you to say, oh, if any of them are Royal Knights, you get to play them in the deck. So for that reason, I don't think you can really hit a particular Digimon from this deck. What you can hit, however, is the option cards. And for me, I think the hit for this deck is BT13's Royal Knights of the Purge. I think it was between this and the Last Guardian, which I believe is the BT20 option, but yeah, I think Royal Knights of the Purge is the better hit here. This option card allows you essentially to play it for only 3 memory instead of the normal 6 because you have the inheritables of King Drasil, which is good enough value as is. It allows you to tuck one underneath, but then also as a delay effect get to play one from underneath your King Drasil, but you can't activate the on-play effects. It's too bad that it also gives you Rush. And as you can see in a lot of the Royal Knights builds these days, they don't really care about the on-play as much. They really care about when attacking triggers, and it turns out playing a free Omnimon X Antibody is pretty broken, and it's also even more broken when you have it as a rush, so you could have its effects to remove whatever things you want really. This card does a lot of heavy lifting in the deck, but I still don't think it is going to kill the deck outright. It will definitely be slower, but I still think it will be powerful in a given format, especially with how much Royal Knight support we just get randomly within a given set. So my hit for Royal Knights going into this ban list is Royal Knights of the Purge. So those are the 3 major hits that I would take for the main 3 decks in the format. Now let's do a little bit of cleanup, and we're going to start with the cleanup with BT1 Gravity Crush. What else can I say about BT1 Gravity Crush other than what I've said in my previous ban list prediction video? I knew this card was going to be abused at some point because it turns out gaining 2 memory is really good, especially when you don't give your opponent another turn. The downside does not exist. And for the majority of decks now, 2 memory is a huge deal. It was only going to take 1 or 2 decks for it to be abused in for everyone to see how broken this card is. And it turns out it was only essentially a month later when we got BT21 World's Convergence, where we got the brand new Digimon line. And now this card is being abused in pretty much anything that can rush your opponent down. We've got, Digimon, but we've also got stuff like Growlmon Rush, Phoenixmon. Loads of decks are abusing Gravity Crush currently. And so I'm going to say what I said previously in my previous prediction list. Ban them all. Ban Gravity Crush, ban Blinding Ray, ban Jax Raid, ban Hammer Spark. Get rid of them all. Get rid of Parabolic Junk. There's going to be a time where that gets abused too. Get rid of that too. Just get rid of them. Ban them outright. The last card that I want to talk about today is EX5 Sayo Koh. Now, this isn't the first time this card has been shown on this ban list, just in a different way. Previously, it was pair banned with certain cards when it first got released in EX5. However, as more stuff has come out now, I think this card just needs to be banned outright because this card could just be abused in pretty much anything. Currently, we're seeing this with the brand new EX9 support with the Omnimon and the brand new Greymon and Garuru support. And with the brand new Tamers, you're essentially able to play stuff out, gain the memory back, and essentially skip your opponent's turn. Skipping your opponent's turn in this game is, let's just be frank, dog shit. And it's just not fun for the game. And I think Bandai know this because they've limited pair them before. So I think now that there's even more ways to abuse this card going forward, I think this card should get banned outright. And I think it's for the best because I don't even think Galaxy uses this card anymore. And it's just kind of like a card that has just been mired in controversy. There are some other cards that I can see potentially getting hit, like the Chaosmon Valderarm, Ruin Mode. People say Ukomon still to this day, even though they're incorrect. These cards are one-off, like fringe picks, so I don't really want to go into depth about them. They can get hit. Will they get hit? Probably unlikely. But that is just my opinion. What do you expect to see getting hit on the upcoming ban list? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.